It's almost the monsoons here in Coorg, and this is a flying squirrel. For those of you who don't know, these squirrels can actually fly. They don't flap their wings, but they climb up the highest tree they can find, and from there they launch themselves onto whatever they lay their eyes on. In this particular case, the squirrel had climbed up this tree for which some pre-monsoon pruning work was going on, and from atop this tree it launched itself to escape the blades of the pruner. They were cutting the branches, so they felt threatened. This squirrel felt threatened. It decided to climb up this tree and launch itself into a glide and caught a tree behind us. That happened on a different tree, not this one. What I'm doing here is I'm trying to make these pieces of firewood into a uniform size. So I'm using the knife. I don't want to call it a knife. I'm using this blade with a handle to chop these pieces of wood and stack them into a pile of regular sized logs. It's quite a nice exercise if you're into working out. I guess maybe even if you're not into working out, it's just something nice to do. It puts you in some meditative flow, and then you can just break branches all day. There's so many ways you can break these branches. Here I've used the breaking with the hand technique, then used the kicking technique, then snapping it with the feet technique, and also the classic blade. I put blade also. Took a couple of casualties also in this pruning of this tree. The problem was that this tree was already half dead, and so the people who climbed the tree to cut it were a little worried, and they said, this might be too dangerous for us to go higher up and climb and then cut it piece by piece. So they have to cut off a huge section of the branch, which is a thick branch. And in doing so, that branch, they've made it fall on 4 coffee trees. In their benefit, there was not much which could be done also, because it was a tricky maneuver. But so yes, now there's 4 coffee trees which have broken, and so now I'm going to have to figure out what to do with it. Mostly I'm going to stump it, and then by stumping I mean cut it at the trunk, maybe about 2 feet from the base, and then from there some new shoots should turn up with some good monsoon rains. Also, it's quite nice to feel how the blade hits the wood, and you would notice that at a certain angle and at a certain force it cuts with so much of ease. Otherwise you can just keep thrashing the blade on the wood and you would hardly get any purchase from the strike. So here I'm just trying to keep it loose and really feel the blade. I'm trying to figure out how it's cutting best. So every now and then it's nice to go into that flow wherein you're trying to feel how well it cuts. This kind of a knife is typically used for the coffee plant pruning, and for us this year we had a group of ladies do it, and they did an excellent job. These ladies tend to be very technical with their strikes, and they're very clean also, so they turn out to do a really good job, because They cut it and then they manage to make the tree look good. And they have an intuitive way of working with the tree, I would say. Also, when they do this uh, coffee plant pruning, it's called gidakapat. When they do that, they sharpen this knife about 3 times. As in, it has 3 instances of being sharp through a day. First is when they come to work, they would have sharpened it at home and they would have brought their knife. And once in their tea break, which may be about 10 or 11 o'clock, they'll sit and they'll sharpen it. And another time at about 2 o'clock or so, they will sharpen it. Their shift generally, if they are doing this work, they would come at about 8:45 and get done by around 3:30 to 4. And this was all the work I could do for the day. I managed to chop a couple of these branches into regular size pieces, and I've stacked a couple, I've grouped them together. So tomorrow I think I will try to cart them to my main estate path so that it's easier for me to keep it in a place where people can access it. And that's all from me. Maybe there'll be another one of these, and thank you.